Sarah Burko, the wife of the Speaker of the House of Commons, has recently revealed she was a bit of a wild woman in her 20s, admitting that she often slept with random men when she was young, free and single. Writing in the Sunday Times, journalist India Knight says that she had the right idea. Don't many free, single young women in their 20s have a period during which they go to bed with random men just for the fun of it, she says. Do you think it's useful to play the field a little bit for the benefit, say, of future relationships?
Well, at the risk of, you end up being called promiscuous, which is a word I hate, because it's a negative view of it. And it depends. I came out of the 60s, and I've often gone about this, we suddenly were given free love, and we were given the choice to have a sex life. What I think is good about it is that it puts sex in perspective, if you like. If you have that whole thing hanging over it, both for boys and girls, girls can sometimes use it as a kind of prize and a bribe, and it becomes something not part of a relationship. So if going to bed with a few partners, whatever that, however many or not, it depends on the individual, gives you an overall sense of what a relationship entails, then yes, I think it is a good thing. But what upsets me is that when young girls do it because everybody else is doing it, or because they think it's clever to do it, or they have no self-worth, and get pregnant, it should be... Sex education should, I think, be less about the nature side of it and more about your mental attitude to it as part of the whole. That's my opinion.
And also, sexually transmitted diseases as well, because, the pill may well be one thing. You mentioned that coming out in the, in the 60s.
I suppose I feel very lucky to have been in my 20s when I was in my 20s, because really, to be honest, although AIDS probably was around, we didn't know that it was around. So really, if you were protected from pregnancy, that was one of your main concerns. And I have to admit that I had a ball. But I was able, and I've kind of sort of tried to self-analyse myself sometimes, because it wasn't like I was from an overly liberal parents, not at all. I had the same boundaries as other people of my age, and also I wasn't closeted, where I sort of broke out like some people had kind of rebelled. I had nothing to rebel against. But I just was able to separate sex and love. And a lot of women particularly can't do that. I don't know where it came from, and I don't make any apologies for it, but I was able to, if I met someone and I wanted to sleep with them...
I think that's really unusual in your 20s, actually.
I could, and then go, get yourself a bacon sandwich, off you can, champion.
See, in my 20s, I was completely the opposite. In fact, I was so... I think probably because my mum said, you don't sort of give anything away on the first date and everything. That was kind of like a bit of a mantra to me. But also, I think in your 20s, you're not mature enough to be able to distinguish, usually, between sex and feelings. And I think to have
to go together all the time, Lisa.
No, but I don't think by having lots of partners in that way gets you better equipped for relationships, because that doesn't sound to me like it's having relationships. That sounds to me about actually getting better at something else.
Lots of people get married.
It's just because it's fun.
No, but an awful lot of... But Lisa, what it does give you is give you the distinction between sex and love, so that you don't end up marrying somebody that actually, basically, you're lusting after rather than being in love with.
I don't think when you're in your 20s that you're mature enough to be able to separate the two, and I think it can be quite damaging. If there are girls that think that by actually having as many partners in that way, they're going to equip themselves in the future to have better relationships.
I don't think it's a conscious thing, though. I don't think you think, what I'll do is I'll cram as many in as I can in my 20s, in the hope that I kind of go, sort of get it all out my system.
No, well, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I don't think when you're in your 20s you know your body well enough to actually... I don't see what fun you can have when you don't know your body that well. I think it's something you learn as you get older.
I understand that in your teens, but in your 20s... I mean...
That's how you learn, though, isn't it?
And also, Denise, you touched on, getting it out of your system. That's something that you think about with men. Because a lot of the time, men may settle down when they're a little bit older, so it sort of stands to reason that they may have had more partners. And that's what you think of with them. You think, oh, well, they played the field a bit, but they've got it out of their system. I mean, when I
don't think you
I think I was quite an old-fashioned girl then in that respect, because I always kind of thought if someone was good enough to sleep with, they were good enough to have a relationship with.
Oh, no, Lisa.
But seriously, in my 20s, I mean, I have to say, I mean, I'm not like that now. I mean, you know, I've lived life and I'm a bit more, you know, kind of open about stuff like that. But initially, in my 20s, I was scared of getting hurt, and I think you can make yourself really vulnerable in that sort of situation.
And also, Lynda, you said you don't like the word promiscuity. Is that just in terms of women, or do you think when it comes to men, it's okay for men to
No,
sleep
it's
around?
okay, it's just the same. And
promiscuous,
where
though,
does
do
it
they?
men get it out of their system because they want to settle down any more than a woman does? You know, once you're in a relationship and you have respect and love for somebody and you've discovered that real relationship, then of course you're not going to go around.
You don't learn that by having random partners, though.
But you do, because you learn the difference between sex and love, I think. And then you learn the combination, how well the combination works.
OK,
I'm still practising.
here's your final break.